If you're like most Americans, you have a lot of equity sitting in your home, and you could go to the bank and get a home equity line of credit to pull that out. And there's a lot of smart things you could do with that money, and there's a lot of dumb things that you could do. My name is Kris Krohn, and today we're going to be exploring whether you should take a home equity line of credit out on your house, and more importantly, what you should be doing with the money. One shot, not a future, but sure, let's go. Welcome back. My name is Kris Krohn, and you're probably a subscriber on this channel if you're learning the hacks of how to become a successful real estate investor. And you know what? When you own real estate, whether it's a primary residence or whether it's an investment property, you want to pull the money out of it so that you can further your investments and do more investing. But there's a lot of people nervous about that move because we're trapped in this ideology of, well, Dave Ramsey says I should pay off my house. My parents say I should be trying to pay off my house. Kris, why would I want to take money out of my house and put it into more homes? Like, I don't know. Like, it seems to make sense from an investment point of view. Like, aren't I going to increase my mortgage and then it's going to cost me more? And then, what if I don't get that much cash flow out of my other home? Or what if the other home doesn't rent in time? And so check it out. It can be confusing. It can be a cluster. And I've got someone here today who's already done it that's going to help us tease this apart. And to help us figure this all out, I've got the CEO of one of my companies, Carson Tietjen here, who's also been a real estate investor, who's also gotten a home equity line of credit that's going to help us make some sense of it. How you doing?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Yeah, Kris, learned a lot from you, and actually every one of my primary homes that I've owned, I've gotten a HELOC on, and it's been a really powerful tool if used correctly in order to further my real estate goals.
Well, let's just start with the basics. What is a home equity line of credit? Right now, the average American in 2024 has $304,000 of equity. That means that if their house is worth, for example, $500,000, they owe approximately $200,000 on it, and they have about $300,000 worth of equity. Now, one of the reasons why Americans have that equity is because they've been told their whole life, you got to get this house paid off, because when your house is paid off, it's going to feel good, your expenses are going to go down, and you're going to be more prepared for retirement. Carson, coming your way, why did you decide to explore getting a loan against your house to pull out some of that equity?
Well, what I was learning when I started doing real estate is that a lot of times you're worried about how your financing lines up, and a HELOC gives you this buffer that you can make a good deal happen that comes along. And you don't have to be worried about stashing like a large pile of cash all the time in case a good deal comes along.
Okay, so for example, right here, sitting on my desk, I've got about $150,000. And if I keep this money in the bank, it's not super smart because the bank is paying me 0.0 nothing percent. So I'm not really making any money there. But if I keep it as equity in my home that I can pull out should a good deal come along, now we're getting into the game that's called arbitrage.
Well, and the thing that I learned about it, Kris, that was so powerful is that you're not penalized if you don't use it. So you can always have that line of credit there, just sitting, waiting to be used. But if I never pull money out of it, it costs me nothing.
So let's talk about what a home equity line of credit actually is. This is where you go to the bank and the bank says, hey, we're going to use an internal system and we're going to tell you what we think your house is worth. We're going to tell you what you owe, and we're going to see that the difference between what you owe and what it's worth, we're calling that equity. And we've got a mathematical equation to determine how much of that equity we would make available to you on a line of credit. And a line of credit, think of it like a credit card. It's a revolving line that says if you don't use it, you don't have to pay on it. But because of the amount of equity you have, if you use it, you will have to start paying. And if you do, you'll have to pay an interest rate of 5, 6, 8%, whatever it is. Now, this does two things. For the person who's not very financially smart, it creates a temptation to want to use some of that equity in their home to go buy a boat or a car or something not smart, aka a liability, something that goes down in value. Because the moment you drive that car off the lot, you've already lost 20% of its value. But it also creates another opportunity for the smart, wise investor that they could access that equity and do something different. They could borrow money at a cheap rate and put it into something, an asset, something that grows in value and something that actually makes money. Carson, tell me just a little bit about your journey of using a home equity line of credit and why you did it in the first place.
Well, I used it to facilitate one of the deals we did in Florida to be able to buy an investment property. And it just made it a lot easier to go out and do that.
So let's back it up. So you were taking a line of credit out of your primary residence. At the time, what was your house worth?
$350.
Okay, and what did you owe on it?
Probably $230.
Okay, so you had about $120,000 of equity.
Yep.
And how big was the line of credit that the bank gave you?
I think it was $80K.
Okay, so you have an $80,000 line of credit.
Yep.
How long did it take for you to set it up?
Like a week.
Okay, it's pretty fast when you go to banks, takes a couple of weeks.
Yep.
And now you have access to $80,000 that you don't have to use. And then you decided to do what with the money?
put it into an investment property.
Okay, and so you found a property, it was out of state, it was in Florida, we used our expert team to find that for you, and how much money did you need out of pocket to put a down payment on that
Well,
house?
I had some money ready to go on it, and I think we ended up pulling like 30 or 40 from the HELOC to finish that down payment.
Okay, so you had money set aside
A
to
little
buy
bit.
that next deal, and you used the HELOC,
Yep.
the home equity line of credit, to basically augment the remainder of
Yep.
that.
Hey, I wouldn't pause this video if it wasn't important, but this could literally make one of the most real differences for you or someone that you care about. Most investors work way too hard and for way too little. And if you're earning 8% on your money in the market like 401ks and IRAs, or you're losing money to inflation, you're playing the wrong game. It'll never get you where you want to go. For the last decade, on my last 2,000 plus deals, my team and I are averaging 60% annual ROI on our real estate. And here's the best part. We do 100% of the work. You bring the capital, it's usually from like a 401k, an IRA, or equity in a home, and then we do everything else, and then we split the profits equally. This isn't a seminar, it's not a course. These are real deals, real returns, and if you want in to learn about what partnering with me could look like, click the link below and find out.
And now we get to one of the big questions that people have. Kris, if I use equity in my home and I take a loan out against it, I'm gonna have an added payment. And when you buy an investment property, you're also gonna have added cash flow. In this particular deal, do you remember what your monthly payment was at the time on the $30,000 or $40,000 that you used on the equity of your house?
Probably like 150.
Okay, and do you remember the positive cash flow on the house that you bought in Florida?
It was close to that.
Okay.
But we were a little different, and it was sort of like forced savings because we were incentivized to just pay the HELOC down really quick so that we could use it again.
All right, so now your other house in Florida, it's rented out, you're collecting rents from the people living there, and there's positive cash flow. There's money left over after covering that mortgage. Was that enough to cover your home equity line of credit payment?
Yeah, it was about sixes.
Okay, so basically, you could take equity out of your house, you could buy an investment property and use the positive cash flow from the investment property to pay the home equity line of credit and basically be sixes, but now with one additional investment property.
And more money in the market accruing value.
So in Carson's experience, like my investors' experience, we're using a home equity line of credit as a tool to further our investment ambitions. And basically what we know is this: one home tastes good, 5 homes taste better. So using equity in a property to buy more homes is going to create more yummy. And what we want is as much yummy as possible to build as big of a portfolio as possible, because each home equals higher net worth, more cash flow, more tax benefits. And when you add it all up, this is how you become a multimillionaire. And the cool thing is the equity in one home is actually now buying your next house, not you. So let's just pause for a moment and talk about the pros and the cons of doing a home equity line of credit in the first place. For you, Carson, what was one of the first biggest benefits that you got from a HELOC?
Just low cost access to cash to be able to do things, to invest.
Top of that, you were afforded flexibility.
Yeah, and that's probably my favorite part, is the flexibility, that I knew that was there and I could access it at any point if something good came along, but I didn't have to use it.
And I think the most important benefit, the third one, is it creates wealth. It's an alternative access to money that can be used to make money. America collectively right now has over $10.5 trillion of equity in all of its real estate. And J.B. Shea, French economist, said that building wealth is taking money from low yields and putting it into higher yields. So if I can borrow against a HELOC at 5, 6, 7, or 8%, and with my known real estate strategy, on every deal, I'm averaging 60%. Ask yourself, would you borrow money at 8% and put it into something earning 60%? If you're smart, the answer is going to be yes all day long, and that's why we're using the HELOC as a wealth building instrument. But there are also some disadvantages of a HELOC that you should be aware of. Carson, for you, what's one of the first biggest disadvantages that you're aware of?
Honestly, Kris, I was surprised to learn about the variable interest rate, that it wasn't just locked in all at once. And until I pulled money out of the HELOC, that interest rate wasn't locked in. And unfortunately, there was a time where I pulled money out where interest rates had gone up, and now my rate was a lot higher.
The other disadvantage that I think we need to really point out is that there's a temptation to overspend. There's a temptation to just delay gratification no more and go after that thing you want and say, I earned it. I bought this house after all. It went up in value, or I worked my butt off to pay it down. Now I want to enjoy some of that. And in the world of investing, we want to take money and roll it into our next investments and let it roll, and take money out and roll it into more. And ultimately, this is how you build a mega portfolio where all of it is building this mega cash flow for you. You've built this incredible wealth, but it takes delayed gratification to get there. not taking that HELOC and using it as a toy.
You know, Kris, I would say if you haven't been a wise steward of credit cards that have a higher interest rate, a HELOC's not going to be the best path for you because you can't spend it on consumer things that lose value. You need to see it as investment capital, and that's it. Don't use it to finish your basement. Like Kris said, don't go out buy a boat with it. That just sets you back in your wealth.
It's not always going to make sense to use equity in your home to make money. You have to find the right vehicle. One of the very best vehicles for sure is the game of real estate. Carson is one of many partners of mine all around the world that found me on social media and decided that they wanted to partner with me because I had a plug-in system to take equity from their home or also access a 401k or IRA and use that money to do something far smarter with our track record that has the potential to make a lot more money. If you'd like to learn more about accessing the equity in your home, a 401k or IRA to make a lot more money, click the link below and learn about partnering with me. There's a way for you to plug into my turnkey model and system where we're averaging 60% year-over-year returns, which is a whole lot more than your borrow rate on your home equity line of credit or the money that the stock market is making you in your 401ks or your IRAs. Click the link below, get some information today, and start making smarter financial choices right now.
But Kris, I'm terrified. The housing market is gonna crash again.
There's so many people out there that believe the market is going to crash and it has them paralyzed with fear. So they're like, I'm not touching the equity in my home. I'm not going to liquidate my 401k and IRA and start investing. I'm just going to wait and see if the market gets better. Let's get you really educated on the 7 criteria of what it takes for a market to crash and why I believe we are a decade away from that happening. If you want to learn why, click right here and let's get you making smarter money choices today.